There have been so many legendary releases in gaming history. For many of us, it's hard to feel like some of these games released so long ago. Today, we want to talk about some legendary releases that are more than 20 years old now. This is an excuse to just blab on about some awesome games that, believe it or not, released around the year 2000s. So without further ado, let's get started. Starting off this list, let's talk Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. Yes, not the first, not the second, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, which I still think is kind of my definitive choice if I'm thinking about all the Tony Hawk games. Don't get me wrong, the other ones are amazing, but 3 just hit really right for a lot of people. Not all the time do you finally get a threequel for a game series, and it turns out to be one of the absolute definitive best, taking the excellent gameplay mechanics and the vibes of the first two and just expanding them with larger levels, bigger challenges, new tricks, and just the excellent music and everything we came to expect. Tony Hawk needed no introduction and he needed no explanation. He was already at this point just becoming synonymous with the video game industry, and this really cemented it. The third game upped the ante in terms of gameplay with the whole revert mechanic to keep your tricks going on forever, and it was just fun. It added some strategy to also blending up your trick stuff. There was just so much to these games, and this one here, this is one of the earlier ones. It's just a tight, good little package. I believe there were also new customization options too. You could make a manager character and you could do multiplayer from what I remember. Special Tricks was where it was at. There's a lot of good stuff here. The soundtrack, I know some people are going to remember it. They all had great soundtracks, but for a lot of people, the Tony Hawk's 3 soundtrack hits just kinda right. Next up, a game that's going to mirror our first game on the list, Jet Set Radio Future. This game is, of course, still today, one of the most unique games out there, even if it is more than 20 years old, had a very 2000 vibe through and through. It was the whole style, yes, the incredible soundtrack, and the just awesome cel-shaded cartoony graphics. It was vibing with some good anti-authority stuff. And it was just a simple good time. A simple good arcade-style experience you could jump in. Not worry about the world and the plot too much. Just skate and look cool doing it. This released in 2002 on the Xbox as a follow-up. There was the original Jet Set Radio, but this one took things a little bit further with tighter controls, a pretty good presentation by the standards of the time, and just a lot to do. A lot of different things in the environment, and more of a kind of a 3D and urban setting to make things fun. What's really interesting too is that, Jet Set Radio had a time to beat to complete objectives, but Jet Set Radio Future actually got rid of it. There are still kind of enemies and things to avoid, but you can kind of explore and take your time. It's just very classic, very straightforward, easy to play, hard to master type of video gaming that is just such a blast. It's a cult classic, and it's also just a great game. Next at number 8, we have The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. Yes, the Wii U game. Well, that's what it's known for now, more popularly, but this did first release in 2002 on the Nintendo GameCube. The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker was a massively controversial release. Believe it or not, people were mad, like super mad at this game when it was announced. People felt misled because the Zelda games, Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, they kept getting more realistic with each one. And then when this follow-up was announced, to have like a kind of a cartoony, chibi, cel-shaded style, a lot of people weren't happy, myself included. But nevertheless, it's interesting how time has progressed because now people look back on this fondly. I think part of it was also maybe the fact it was a GameCube release, and maybe people were feeling like the GameCube wasn't a serious machine stacked up against the PlayStation 2 and the original Xbox. Either way, The Wind Waker still has notoriety to this day, and I don't think it's just the art style. I think it's an excellent Legend of Zelda game. And yes, I know majority of you watching probably just played the still excellent Wii U version, but this did drop apparently in 2002. More than 20 years ago makes some of you feel old, and me feel old as hell. But it's still a charming, fun time as we expect Legend of Zelda games to be. There's that air of mystery, there's just the sense of adventure and danger, and The Wind Waker just did it so well. It's got some amazing music, of course, and the exploration in the Great Sea was just so awesome because they just set you loose. Back when it was released, it felt like a game like no other at the time. Yeah, there were other open-world games in the 2000s, but this was different. This is what Nintendo does. It just hits right. Next up, we have Metroid Prime. Yes, a few years ago is the 20th anniversary of Metroid Prime, believe it or not. Think about that. Let that blow your mind a little bit. But really, I wanted to put this on here mostly for people younger than me who might think that they missed out on this. And by all means, man, if you got a PC, you should try and emulate it, because Metroid Prime is not only the most 2000-ass looking game with perfect cool sci-fi design, nice slick looking graphics, but it's also a fun evolution of Metroid. There's still exploring, there's still cool alien designs and worlds and dungeons and stuff like that, but now all in first person. This is kind of cool, back before first person was the be-all and end-all for so many studios and video game series. Metroid kind of did it right, and did it first, in a way. I mean, I'm sure there were other examples, don't jump on me guys, but it was great here. What made it even better is that this was the return. Metroid really was a dormant game series. The last game release was Super Metroid on Super Nintendo. There was no N64 Metroid game, and then on GameCube right here was Metroid Prime, rising from the ashes and really thankfully just changing up the formula a little bit, but progressing the game series in a big, awesome way. Man, Metroid Prime was so cool, just scanning things, exploring a planet, the bosses, the way Samus looked, her armor rendered in the game, the way things would work meticulously, you'd shoot with a blaster and it would briefly for a second sometimes leave a puff of smoke on Samus inside of her helmet, and you would see her face just a half a second reflection on the helmet. Really, really tiny little game design aspects. This was such a cool game before, and even you compare it to some of the newer games we have today, I think it can still holds up pretty well.
Every bone in my body tells me that the answers rest on the shoulders of a young boy.
Coming in next, we have Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy. Now, I think technically, at least for us here, Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy, came out at the very end of December 2001, making it essentially a 2002 game, because that's when it was Lifeblood. I don't know really what else to call it, but you get what I'm saying? That's when everybody else played it. You know, it doesn't matter what year. It's Jak and Daxter. I feel like we're at this point in this video now where it's just the early 2000s are in full swing, and Jak and Daxter is a perfect example. Taking what was amazing from Naughty Dog's old stuff like Crash Bandicoot and building on it and really making this awesome looking, awesome feeling little action platformer that feels very much like a PlayStation 2 game kind of blown out. Just a great little action adventure. And I think what I'm gonna say here probably applies to other games on this list, but this was just kind of pure fun boiled down, you know? There were no predatory microtransactions, there were no crazy controversial DLC, there was no real strings attached here other than just play through this game and have fun, whatever. Not that we don't really get that anymore, I just feel like with a game here, Jak and Daxter, it was good, wholesome, fun. Now next over at number 5, we gotta put Kingdom Hearts. Yes, Kingdom Hearts is also one of those 20-year-old games now. And Kingdom Hearts, man, what else is left to talk about? It's so perfect, it's so unique, it's so absolutely 2000s and early 2000s in the best ways. A Square Enix property with Final Fantasy characters diving into classic Disney worlds before each Disney property kind of became its own thing, it was still more a legacy of fun, classic vibes Disney stuff. And you know, you're jumping around in these worlds playing as cool Sora, sometimes accompanied by Final Fantasy characters, sometimes accompanied by freaking Goofy and Donald Duck and other Disney characters. It's still never not funny and weird. It's still a reason why I love Kingdom Hearts. I will never not love Kingdom Hearts because of how fascinating it is, just as a piece of media. And also, like Sora, the design of Sora, the art design, it is the most inoffensive way I can put it. Just the most 2000s ass looking character I've ever seen, but they stuck to their guns, and that's why it rocks. Anyways, I'm rambling here, but at the end of the day, you know what Kingdom Hearts is, an awesome adventure game with a lot of fun action, an incredible soundtrack, and just going into recognizable Disney worlds. You fight in the Nightmare Before Christmas, you go to Destiny Island, you go to Mickey Mouse's world, you go to Aladdin, you go to freaking Hercules, there's cool narrative twists and turns, there are awesome bosses, and it's just a fun adventure through and through. They would introduce new elements in the series for the sequels and stuff, but this one here just still really holds its own as just a classic game.
Report!
It must have been one of their boarding parties. I'd guess an antimatter charge.
Ma'am! Fire control for the main cannon is offline!
Next on the list is Halo Combat Evolved. Yeah, I hate that we sound like a broken record, but Halo Combat Evolved, the original Xbox launch, like this is also one of those masterpieces that is already 20 years old now. That's just a lot to think about. But look, at the end of the day, it's obviously one of the most influential games on this list. A game that shaped game development to this day. And it wasn't just gameplay stuff. Like, it had a really great first-person shooter experience. It's not known for, tactical mechanics or anything, but it just has a distinct feeling of its own. And the way that the weapons feel are just some of the best in the biz. And then on top of that, a full co-op thing. A really, really great, interesting story with incredible, incredible music. And just nothing but awesome and interesting shooting moments. But ever since the first game, the seeds were there to turn this into a really, really big video game universe. And that's a lot of the reason why it was huge, is that it was recognizable, but you also wanted more. You wanted more Master Chief, you wanted more lore, and thankfully, we got even more Halo game from time to time. Coming up next, we have another shooter game, Battlefield 1942. I played this one on PC when it came out, and it was just the coolest thing ever. Massive battles, World War II, and World War II shooters are a dime a dozen. But the way this one made you feel really involved, like you were a part of this bigger war, or at least a larger multiplayer match with a bunch of players on these huge maps with crazy combat, cool vehicles, just a lot going on, was an absolute blast. And it just felt very seamless. You kind of just get dropped on one side of the map and run from one end to the other and do whatever you gotta do to survive. This game was just cool, and I think it would eventually turn into a little bit of history. Now we always talk about, or at least we've had in the past, the Call of Duty versus Battlefield thing. This was the start of that. Although actually, what's funny is that this game actually came out before Call of Duty, before the first Call of Duty, which will over time become its big rivalry. But of course, back then, we were just looking forward to playing the next closest thing to the next Medal of Honor, because that was where it was at back then. But still, this game was just so much fun. This game specifically is absolutely long gone. Servers closed forever ago, but maybe you can get some people together and figure out how to host the server and get some bots involved and have some fun. There's just something about this kind of weird-looking little-ass game that has just something really exciting and special to it.
Yep. Sam Fisher. Let me introduce you to Vernon Wilkes Jr. Hello.
Hey, I've heard crazy things about your work.
I hope you don't mind.
Up next, we have Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell. Yes, the original Splinter Cell that, despite being a big deal, came hot on the heels of Metal Gear Solid 2. So everyone was comparing Metal Gear Solid and Splinter Cell, and comparing both styles of stealth. But the thing is, you can't really compare the two. Yes, they're both stealth-focused games, but they couldn't be any more far apart from each other than sneaking through environments. Metal Gear's weird, it's long-winded, it's crazy, it has action moments, it's bombastic, it's got crazy bosses. Meanwhile, Splinter Cell is just the grit. It is stealth distilled to its most pure form. You are literally sneaking through dark rooms, using shadows as cover, playing as Sam Fisher, this really cool Black Ops, Spec Op guy with one of the most iconic things in gaming, his three-pronged lower night vision goggle lenses. Great game design, great sound design here. The excellent voice work of Michael Ironside playing Sam Fisher. This pushed the ball further for video games of making important characters have really cool, important voices and actors and bringing that type of stuff into the fold. This had all of that, but also really, really tight stealth gameplay. It still holds up, it's very creative. I really hope they eventually make another Splinter Cell game, for the love of God. Come on, there's so much that series can do. But even at the end of the day, this is a legendary game that took climbing pipes, crushing computers, shooting out lights, all of that good stuff to its maximum potential. If you didn't got to play this back in the day, you're in luck, because this is still up on Steam right now.
Sorry for the delay, but I didn't want anybody seeing me, if you know what I mean.
What can I get you, sir?
Just a coffee.
Coming right up.
And finally, we have Mafia, the OG Mafia. Before movies, before weird spin-offs, before all of the stuff, before all of the rigmarole, right here was the original game developed by Illusion Softworks. This was essentially with an ambitious open world, with cars, with cops that would come after you for speeding or breaking any law, heck, stopping at red lights everywhere you go as you're going about your business journey. It was very much in line with Grand Theft Auto 3, which released the previous year, but the first Mafia also had, I think, a little bit of inspiration inspiration from things like Hitman and Max Payne. Of course, this was a little bit of a simpler, smoother action game, but it is still one of the great games where you play as Tommy and you're experiencing this decades-spanning mob epic, this story of crime and corruption. And I'm obviously quoting the trailers too much now, but the game really was enveloping. It was immersive for the time. It felt massive. It had voice acting that really, by the time you finished it, you thought these characters were real people. You wanted to see them jump out on movies and TV shows. And I still think even compared to Grand Theft Auto and similar games of that era, this one still had a little bit more smoother, tighter gameplay, which I was a big fan of. The game was re-released back in 2020, for you to have a smoother gaming experience of the rise and fall of Tommy Angelo. Of course, there are still so many things to talk about, so many games to talk about, but these are just 10 of some of the best. Let me know which games you think are worth featuring in this video, because, like I said, there are so many. Now, if you liked this video, clicking the like button's all you gotta do. It really helps us out. And if you're new here, feel free to subscribe because we put out videos from time to time. But regardless, as always, thanks for watching.